Hello lovely people, it's Myriam and welcome back to another video. So for this week's time-lapse I have a painting edit for an art collective I'm a part of, and you may have heard me mention that collective a few times if you follow me on Instagram or if you follow my community tab here on YouTube. I'm part of a collective called the Nabi Artist Collective, and it was created by a friend of mine, Nadia Rosa. She's a really lovely person, an artist, and I'll link her YouTube channel below if you want to check it out. But she put together a group of 20 of us artists, and every month we create a piece each based on a theme. We have a month-long online show and an auction at the beginning of said month also. So that's a quick rundown of what an art collective is if you're not familiar with the concept. So June 2018 is our launch month. It's our first month as a collective, and we created pieces based on the theme Metamorphosis. So if you guys are interested in checking out the collective and the other artists and what pieces they created for the show, I'll link all of our social media, our website, our Facebook page down below. We have a show running from the 1st to the 30th of June, and we also have an auction running from the 4th to the 12th, so it actually ends quite soon, in a few days I think. It's going on our Facebook page, so if you guys are interested in owning any limited edition prints or any originals from our show, you can head over to the link below to have a look at our auction. We'll have a new show in July, which will be along the theme of introductions. So if you guys want to keep up to date with what's going on and all the artists in the collective and see some in-progress shots and the like, make sure you follow us on Instagram at Nabi Artist Collective. So for this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about a topic that's been affecting me lately. So I won't be talking specifically about the painting. So if you have any questions about it or about my process, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll do my best to reply to it when I have time. I do read every single comment I get, I promise, and I'm really thankful for how kind you all are to me. I'm sorry if I can't reply to all of them, it's just a bit difficult to keep up with them, but I do my best to answer questions, so if you have any questions, do feel free to leave them down below. But for this week's video, I wanted to talk about the feeling of never doing enough. I have a really busy summer ahead of me. It's probably the busiest summer I've had in a long time. I'm both very excited by most of the things that are going to be happening, but I'm also at the stage where I feel a little bit frozen in place. I'm not someone who collapses under pressure. I think I actually sometimes thrive even more under it, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me quite a bit. Something that I've always struggled with, no matter what I was doing in my life, was the feeling that I wasn't working hard enough. And so as a result, to kind of live up to my own expectations and to kind of prove to myself that I did, I worked probably too much and I was probably too perfectionist, and it kind of was, and I mean it still applies to me now, but a bit less, as I'll go into more detail after. But I did that thing where I kind of reinforced it by working as hard as I possibly could, to the detriment of my mental health really, and to the detriment of my mental balance. Because the thing with not feeling that you're doing enough is that most of the time it's mostly mental and doesn't actually reflect your actual reality. And in fact can even stop you from seeing your reality and from seeing what you're doing in a productive way. And something that I've had to learn is that I won't be able to catch up with my expectations of what should be enough, because by constantly feeling inadequate in the amount of work I was doing, it wasn't something I should work on by indulging it and therefore working more because I think that's going to be the solution to it. It's a feeling that is rooted in insecurity and in fear and not in reality, and so I had to slowly start to understand that I needed to stop indulging that feeling and actually contradict it instead. And one might argue that by working more, you are actively contradicting the fact that you're not doing enough, which seems like sound logic, but I think that it actually validates your feeling that you're not doing enough, because by trying to fit more work than you previously did, and by trying to work even harder than you previously did, you are validating in your own head the fact that you previously weren't doing enough. And I hope that makes sense. I haven't scripted any of this, so it might seem a bit kind of random and not very well structured, because I'm kind of talking off the top of my head here. But my point is that in order to invalidate that feeling that you're not doing enough, and obviously I'm saying you, but this is kind of almost me talking to myself here. So I'm talking about my own experiences. Again, I can't talk for other people's experiences, but I thought I'd share my thought process about it. You know, as always, in the hopes that maybe someone might find it interesting or helpful. As always, do let me know down in the comments if you guys find this in any way relatable or not at all. I'm always interested in knowing what your experiences are. But basically, my personal process at the moment is to try to change what is basically a subtractive statement and state of mind in which I don't feel like I'm doing enough into a more additive, I'm not sure if that's the right use of the word, but into a slightly more positive state of mind. So I'm basically practicing positive reinforcement on myself. I think that's probably the shortest way to put it. So I have a to-do list for my weeks, and I cross off everything I've done, and there is nothing more satisfying than crossing off something I've done. But I have noticed that I tend to focus on the things that I haven't been able to manage. So even if the 90% of the things I've crossed out, if they are like 10% I haven't, for some reason they take a lot more importance to me than the things I have managed to cross out. And so I have been trying to work on myself and notice what I have managed to do instead of what I haven't managed to do. Because anything that you manage to do, no matter how small, is still progress. And when I'm overwhelmed by the amount of things I have in front of me to do, I remember it used to create crippling anxiety in me to have a lot of things on my to-do list. It was always something that I managed to do. For some reason, working under pressure was never something that kind of froze me into place per se. I'd be scared in the beginning and scared throughout, but I'd still get things done. But it was to the detriment of my mental health, and I would be at such high peaks of stress that I mean, it was in no way healthy. And so for me, it's been about managing the amount of anxiety that having a lot to do puts on me, and managing also the anxiety that linked to that situation tells me that I'm not doing enough. And so in order to manage that stress and anxiety that come from me having lots to do but not feeling like I'm ever doing enough, I have put in place this mantra in my head, and it took me a while to kind of adopt it properly and actually see the value in it. But ever since I've actually made it part of my routine, it's been incredibly helpful to me. And again, I'm not saying that it's going to be helpful to anyone else, I'm just exposing my personal experiences here. But what I do now when I feel overwhelmed is kind of close my eyes, breathe in, and just go one thing at a time. Because not only is it like practical advice, really, because anything kind of is one thing at a time, and I mean, you can probably technically combine stuff, but most of the time, most things are done meticulously and, you know, one step at a time. But it also kind of gives that one thing at a time value. It shows that that's how progress works. Everything is one thing at a time. You can't do everything at the same time. And so every single small thing in the right direction is progress and is valuable. Also, as a little side note here, I thought I'd include some footage of me peeling the tape off in real time, because while we're talking about stress and anxiety, I thought that a little bit of peeling of tape and clean edges might be enjoyable. So anyway, part of my point is don't underestimate the value of small bits of progress, because that is still progress, and I strongly believe in positive reinforcement, and I have seen it work in me personally quite well, where I don't actually become complacent, because you could think that once I've actually managed to start feeling like every small thing I do is good progress, I could just go, well, that's enough, then I can just leave it at that and do something else now. But I haven't actually. I've noticed that my productivity is much higher when I allow myself to be proud of how much I've managed to achieve, even if it's not all I wanted to achieve for that day. And it does help me in working more, it does help me in being more productive and in a more healthy way. So not only does it allow me to be more productive, but it allows me to be more attuned with what I personally need in that moment. So I'll actually be able to determine whether I'm in a good place to try and work more, and if I'm actually going to be efficiently productive, or if I actually need a break, and it helps me to accept that that break is a necessary part of being productive. So it's it helped me create a more healthy relationship with myself. But anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts, hear how you guys deal with that pesky inner voice that's telling you you're not doing enough if you have it. I think it's a kind of an interesting topic, because I think a lot of people in general, and artists in particular, experience that kind of thing. It goes with imposter syndrome, it goes with insecurity, it goes with fear, it goes with self-confidence. It's just it's so entangled with so many other kind of worries that we can have as human beings, and again specifically as artists. So I'd love to know your thoughts about this topic. Thank you for letting me ramble on about a more personal subject. I hope you enjoyed this piece also. Prints are available in my shop if you guys are interested, and the original is available on the auction up until the 12th, and after that, if it hasn't sold, it'll be on my shop. So feel free to go check that out if you're interested in owning a copy of it. And I titled it Zephyr. It's in gouache and watercolour, and any and all materials I've used on it are in the description below. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I hope you guys are all really well, that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for joining me for another one. Thank you for 60,000 subscribers too, nearly to be 61,000 by the way. That's absolutely insane. But by the way, I will have a vlog probably sometime in July to show you guys, so hopefully you'll join me for that very first one. Thank you so much for being so enthusiastic about the idea. But anyway, take really good care of yourselves, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye everyone.